The following program is underwritten by the Nevada Irrigation District. Since 1921, providing clean and healthy drinking and irrigation water to more than 24,000 homes, farms, schools, and businesses in Nevada and Placer counties.
Welcome to NCTV Interviews. I'm your host, Lou Sitzer, and today we have with us Alexander Rossi, a local phenomenon, race car driver, a real celebrity. You may have read about him in the Union, but today we have the opportunity of talking with Alexander, welcoming him, and also congratulating him on the recent two wins in Wisconsin. And you've been traveling, you're about 2/3 the way through the season.
Yes, that's correct.
And you've had quite a season. This is your second year of racing Formula BMW. Yep. Mm-hmm. And for those of the audience who are not familiar with that particular level or style of car, how would you describe it?
You know, it's very much of a entry-level car into the world of motorsport. It's solid carbon fiber. It is putting out about 160 horsepower. It can reach speeds of 165 miles an hour. And it really teaches young drivers the basic fundamentals of learning a car that doesn't have the horsepower that the next levels do, but it really teaches you how to carry rolling speed through a corner and, you know, just focus on being very consistent and precise with your driving.
So when you say young drivers, what are the age range of the drivers that you're competing with?
The minimum age requirement for Formula BMW is you have to be 16 by the end of the calendar year. And the oldest you can be is 23. And
you are 16?
Yes, that's correct.
And now have your driver's license?
Yep.
But you're competing against drivers who are considerably older.
Yes, absolutely. But it's never really been a big issue for me to compete against drivers who are older than me. I've been doing it ever since I started in go-karts, so I'm very used to it. And it's not so much a level of age as it is a level of the ability to drive the car at the absolute limit all the time.
Right, and when you say you've been at this a while, can you take us, for people who don't know you very well, take us back to when you first started? How old were you?
I first got in a go-kart when I was 9 years old in Las Vegas. My dad took me to a karting school, and, you know, I immediately fell in love with it. I got my own go-kart at 10 and, you know, really started competing in regional levels and, you know, soon moved up to national levels. And at age 13, I got in a race car for the first time and started competing in a regional championship up at Laguna Seca in Monterey. And I won that my first year. I also was the Rookie of the Year, and that's when I moved into the Skip Barber National Series, which was a much higher competitive level of series and level of drivers. There was more drivers, the cars were faster, the tracks were bigger, there was more variety of tracks. So that was my first real season in race cars, was in 2006, the Skip Barber National Championship.
So you have been at this Formula BMW level. This is your second year, first year Rookie of the Year. And tell us how you're doing this second year.
I'm currently leading the championship by 34 points. I've won 6 of the last 8 races. Or I'm sorry, 4 of the last 6 races, and, you know, come on very strong about halfway point through the season. I've won a total of 6 races this year, and just last weekend in Wisconsin, I took my career victories to 9, which was the highest in Formula BMW Americas.
Right, and when you say 6 victories, it's 6 victories out of 12 races?
6 victories out of a total of what we've had now is 12 races, yes.
And you have how many left? 5 more?
5.
So 17 in a season, 6 victories out of 12. The national leader, that's quite an accomplishment for a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
How are you managing? Give us a little bit of an idea of your training and also the kinds of challenges you have which are other than sitting in the race car competing, because it's a lot of pressure for someone your age to absorb.
Yeah, it is, but fortunately I've had a lot of time in a go-kart and in a race car to get used to it. I mean, this is going on my 6th year of competing at a very high level. And, you know, it's very similar to what, you know, the Olympic athletes have been going through their whole life. I started training intensely when I was 11 years old, competing for one goal, and that's to reach Formula One and become a Formula One world champion. So I'm going to keep doing that until I get there. I mean, it's been my goal, it's my absolute goal, and the mental preparation that's required for that is very intense. But my parents, they've been a great help for me for that. My team, they're incredible. They've done an incredible job for me so far. So I just need to keep my end up on my physical training and hopefully come out of this 2008 season as the champion.
Well, before we talk a bit more about the experience, let's take a look at a video that gives people a sense of speed and what you look at while you're in the race car.
Okay.
3 seconds to take the win, no time at all.
On to race 2. After an early safety car, we restart on lap 3, and American Alexander Rossi uses the grass to pass Gianmarco Raimondo for the lead.
And despite pressure from several rivals, Rossi would take the win in Montreal with his teammate Giancarlo Villarino finishing 2nd.
Right. So this was in Montreal, and when was it in the season?
It was round 4, and it was a very, very difficult race for me. I started 3rd on the grid, and throughout the entire race, I was having pressure from my teammate, from other competitors in the field. And unfortunately, I didn't have the fastest car that weekend. We couldn't get things quite figured out with the setup, so we were struggling a little bit from the get-go. But we ended the weekend very strong with a victory, and it was very cool to stand up on top of the podium with my teammate.
Right. So again, for folks who aren't educated as to the kind of team that needs to work with you and the kind of preparation, can you take us through what might be, describe the team, describe the kind of testing you have to do prior to a race?
Well, before the season even starts, there's 6 unofficial testing days. And it gives you, 6 official testing days, and it really gives you the opportunity to mesh with the team and mesh with the other drivers in the series so that you can really get a feel for how they drive, how they're going to perform with you when you're next to them going 120 miles an hour. You can really get a feel for that and also get a feel for the setup of the car. A lot of the drivers, it's their first year in the series. Me as a returning driver, I was not only getting used to different tracks, but also to a new team and a new car. So that was my main focus. And on the team, I have a personal engineer who I spend a lot of time with looking at data and, you know, really digging into how the car's performing and what I would like to see as changes and what I need to make the car go faster as a driver. And then on top of that, I have a mechanic and, you know, a tire and fuel guy who are in charge of making sure the car is obviously running at its full potential and that halfway through the race, something's not going to fail.
And these trial testing times, they're quite separate from the race itself, so there's a tremendous expense in putting together a crew, flying out to wherever the testing is to take place, going through testing. I think your dad mentioned that just tires alone, $52,000 just for tires.
Yes, that sounds about right. Considering tires are about $1,000 a set, and you can go through probably 3 sets of tires in a weekend, no problem.
So we'll talk about the cost and sponsorship, but perhaps we should delve a little bit more into some of the actual races and experiences you've gone through. Let's take a look at the photos that you brought with you.
Okay. This was the first race of the season in Laguna Seca, which is in Monterey, California. And this is the top of the corkscrew, which is probably one of the most famous corners in American road racing. At the top, you drop down into a blind almost, you know, you go down a hill and you drop 10 stories to the bottom. So it's an extremely fast corner, it's blind, and, you know, it takes a lot of confidence to get used to. This was also in Laguna Seca. An autograph session on my right is my teammate from Canada. We've done very good together on the team, pushed each other, and it's been quite a good relationship. This is about midway through the corkscrew. You can see the other two cars, they're at the top, they're entering, and at this point you're just looking down and holding onto the car, and you're picking up speed very rapidly.
And you're also cornering.
Yes, that's true. This is in Montreal. Going down in the hairpin is about 150 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour in a matter of 200 feet. So you got to get the car slowed down very quickly, and as you can see, obviously under quite a bit of pressure from the other competitors.
Do you use braking when you do that, or you gear down? How do you slow down?
Braking and as well as downshifting, yes. This is in Montreal as well, turn 2. Leading the race with my teammate behind me in second place. This is on the podium in Montreal, round 4, and on both sides of me are actually my teammates. Unfortunately, the driver in third place, who is on my left, got disqualified, but probably the biggest part of this was directly to my left in the white shirt is Dr. Tyson, and he runs the BMW Sauber F1 team.
The BMW what?
Sauber Formula 1 team. This is a press conference after Mid-Ohio, having to explain the race and the situations to different media personnel. This is leading in Lime Rock Park. Very, very short track. It's almost like an oval in the opposite direction for road cars. And it's very short, very tight, and actually the lap times are under a minute.
And how many laps?
I believe that race was 25 laps. This is on the grid in Hockenheim, which is actually based in Hockenheim, Germany. I was doing a guest race for the Formula BMW Europe Series with the same team that I drive for in Formula BMW Americas Euro International. This is BMW's hospitality that is available for all the Formula BMW drivers. The American one looks very similar to this, and it's just a very good place to be able to go enjoy some incredible food and cool atmosphere, and just be able to kick back and relax a little bit.
And isn't it quite a sort of an honor to be picked up by BMW, to have them sponsor you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible series to drive in, and it teaches you so much, and to be involved in a part of such a great corporation it's very special. This is my team owner, Antonio Ferrari, owner of Euro International. This was after the win in Road America, I believe. So we're both very happy with the results.
Any relation to the Ferraris?
No.
No. Mm-hmm. Okay, just coincidence.
This is being interviewed in Road America this past weekend after my first victory. This is also Road America. My engineer, Nicola, is reaching down into the car, and I'm actually looking at a Game Boy, looking at the lap times from the session and qualifying.
And are you in contact full-time with your engineer?
Yes. This is coming into turn 5 at Road America. Like Montreal, it's another very hard braking zone, about 158 miles an hour down to about 60. So you have to slow down the car quite a bit, and when you're racing with other competitors, it's very interesting to go into that corner on the first lap.
And it looks like you've been managing to avoid accident. I'd like to talk to you about that. But
this is on the podium in Road America. This on my right side is Adrian Tambay, and he's actually he was my teammate for the weekend. He's a guest driver from Formula BMW Europe, and he currently lies third in the points. This is one of the salon shows that I did. This was actually a local one in Elk Grove for Niello BMW. On my right is one of the press officers for Bimmer magazine, which is a BMW magazine for BMW enthusiasts. This is in Thunder Hill, which is in Willows, California. And actually, right before I get in the car, we're doing a last-minute check over at the data. On the right is the data engineer, and on my left is my car engineer. This is also in Thunder Hill, which is Willows, California. We did a kind of a drive for the Roman Angels Car Club, so they could come up there and check out a race car and see it on track at full speed, and I'm actually doing a short demo of the car at this point. This was probably one of the coolest things I've gotten to do this year. Go to downtown New York City after the Lime Rock rounds in Connecticut with the other BMW education and coaching drivers, and we actually got to go into Sirius Satellite Radio headquarters and tour their facility and actually do some interviews on the air over there.
Almost as cool as NCTV.
Absolutely. This is Concord BMW. Very, very cool group of people, and it was a joy to be able to work with them. This is Valencia BMW, another one of the salon shows, and that man on my left is actually the developer of the new hydrogen BMW 7 Series. Wow.
So you do a lot of on the road, not just racing, but touring with your car and yourself.
Yes, that's correct. This is official testing, like we were talking about earlier, in Virginia, and this was actually my third time with Euro International and getting accustomed to the way they work. And actually, by the looks of my visor, I'm about to go out in a rain session. This is also Virginia, debriefing with my engineer once again, talking about how the car was handling and how we can make it better.
Well, that's a great show, and it just illustrates a part of what you do. I know there's a tremendous amount of study. I wanted to point out to everyone that Alexander graduated as a 4.0 student in high school, and he's in his completed your third semester now?
Yes.
As a 4.0 student at Sierra College. So you have the brains, you have the training, you have the crew, you've got a great car, and you've got the results. And I wanted to mention, though, that this is just part of the schedule of what expectations are for Alexander. You've got a very ambitious plan for yourself, and could you talk about where you are in your plan and where you're headed?
Well, it's kind of, that's a difficult question. I mean, it all depends on how sponsorship's coming along and how your race results are coming. But as of now, I am about 3 steps from Formula One, and I'm just taking 1 weekend at a time, doing everything I can to perform my best, getting myself motivated about 2 to 3 weeks in advance, just to go and perform at my absolute highest ability. And having going for the championship this year, it's really taught me a lot about really developing a relationship with your team and how important that is in the world of motorsport. If you don't have a team behind you, you really are at a loss, because a driver can only drive a car that's not so great so well. So it's very important that you have something that you can really put yourself in confidence with and drive it as fast as you can. Now, as in regards to getting to Formula One, we are seriously considering and really hoping that I can get into Formula 3 Euro Series next year. And that is by far the most competitive open wheel series in the world. And it is made very known, and it has been proven time and time again that if you can be successful in Formula 3, then you are definitely going somewhere in the world of European motorsport.
Well, please explain to everybody what Formula One racing is. That's where you're headed. You're 3 steps away from that level. But go into things like how do Americans fare with that kind of driving? And I'm curious as to whether or not there's ever been an American champion.
Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsports. There's thousands of drivers that are talented enough. There's more tens of thousands of drivers that want to be in Formula One. But there's a select 20 that have the opportunity to actually race and compete in a Formula One World Championship. It's the best teams, the best cars. I mean, you have names like Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, BMW, Honda, Toyota, Renault. They're all going head-to-head and spending millions of dollars to make sure that they are going to come out on top. And, really, Americans have struggled over in Europe. The American driving style is very different than European.
How is that?
Well, European driving style is, they go for broke. They go all out all the time, and they care about every position. Even if you're fighting for 16th position, they don't care. They want that 16th, and they want to make sure that you don't get it. So you can imagine that in America, there's a lot more room that drivers give They don't push you all the way to the wall. They don't drive you in the grass. They won't put you in the wall to get what they want. So Americans really have a hard time adjusting going over there because the rules are just simply different. And there has been two Formula One world champions, and actually one of them is Mario Andretti. He not only was a Formula One world champion, but also an IndyCar champion.
Mm-hmm. So two Americans have succeeded at champion level.
Yes.
That's great. I'm just curious now, it's quite an enterprise, a business actually, to do what you're doing. And I know you've had the support of your family and sponsors, but give us an idea of the cost per year of what this kind of competition is.
Well, the world of racing is very, very expensive. And unfortunately, the background that I come from, just we can't afford to fund the racing all the way to Formula One. It's just not a feasible option, and it is impossible. So, you know, we've been working very hard for the past 3 years to really try and get the sponsorship ball rolling and really try to get ourselves aligned with people who want to see me there and want to get me to Formula One. But, I mean, the cost from level to level doubles and triples and quadruples as you go up. So, I mean, it rises exponentially. And, you know, looking at Formula 3 Euro Series next year with the US dollar the way it is, you're looking at $1.2 million to compete with a top-level team.
And out of that $1.2 million, if you're sponsored by a BMW or an equivalent level of sort of business, they provide some of that cost?
Yes, I mean, there is a lot of team subsidies that come, whether from the manufacturer or from the team itself. In Formula 3, there's 3 different engine manufacturers. There's Mercedes-Benz, there's Volkswagen, and there's Honda. Now, to be able to get with Mercedes-Benz and say, hey, I want to drive for such and such team, could you please front some of the money? That's not going to be able to come your first year in Formula 3 Euro Series. Maybe your second year after you've finished second or third and you want to go for the championship, that's a feasible option. But, you know, you're not going to get a lot of help and support from these big names unless you've proven yourself all the way over in European racing.
And so I guess what you're saying is that really you're very thankful for the sponsors you do have, but for the goals that you have set for yourself, you're going to need to have more sponsors and bigger sponsors. You know, one of the things that we're going to do at the end of the show is run a list of the present sponsors you now have, but also the message is here is a young man who has established a tremendous record, a fine young man locally who we would love to see succeed. And in order to do that, you're going to need some help.
Yes, absolutely. Like you said, I'm very grateful for the sponsors I have. A lot of them are hometown. And, you know, this year would not have been possible without them. Absolutely not. And they have really been a big part of it. They've done the guest experiences that Team Rossi and myself, we've all put on so that these local sponsors can feel like they're part of the racing team, the racing family, and the racing community. They've gotten to be up close and personal with the cars, get to see some very close racing, as well as even tour the Formula One paddock and garages. So these people who have helped me, big shout out to them. I mean, it's incredible. But like you said, also looking forward, it's going to take definitely something special to get me to where I need to go.
Well, Alexander has a great website, and then I get your email flashes, and they're wonderful to kind of follow Alexander throughout the year. So we encourage you to subscribe to the website. It's free, and you get the latest news. What do you have left remaining this year?
Well, probably the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is, you know, just finishing out the season on top. I have 3 races coming up in New Jersey at a brand new racetrack that no one's been to before. So I'm very much looking forward to that, as well as the season finale, which is taking place in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it is actually the same weekend as the finale for Formula One. So both of our championships are going to be coming to a close there. So it's going to be a very, very exciting weekend and very cool thing to be a part of for sure. And looking even past that, there's the World Championships, Formula BMW World Championships, which I took part in last year. They took place in Valencia, Spain. And you know, this year I'm going back, hopefully with a championship under my belt, and going back to definitely get some redemption a little bit, and you know, show that I can really compete in the European level of racing. And that has not been announced yet, the location, but they have drawn the options down to 2, and it's either going to be in Mexico City or Dubai.
Right, so your education is not only on the racetrack, but an ambassador to other countries, and it's a very active lifestyle. You manage to go to school and race. I know this race in New Jersey is going to have some testing, so because it's a new track, you've never been there, you need to go there prior to the race and test out the equipment and the track?
Yes, absolutely. Since it is a brand new track, we are going to need to, you know, really develop the car and figure out what it needs to be able to go quick there. And it's also going to be a very big help for me, so that I have every advantage that I need to possibly clinch the championship before we head to Brazil for the final 2 rounds.
Right. And how does your schooling work with your travels?
I am currently taking online classes from Sierra College. I just finished out a summer course, and I am going to be taking probably 3 or 4 fall courses from Sierra College online.
Right. Well, just want to emphasize that in this next series of races, 3 races in New Jersey, Alexander has the opportunity of wrapping up the title of champion. And so we'll be anxiously watching to see how that goes. If not there will be other races, 2 more to follow, wrapping up the season. So it's going to be great to see how you end up. I wish you the best of luck, and hope that mishap does not happen. With auto racing, you can't control everything.
That's correct.
And I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is NCTV, a local public access TV station. We depend on your sponsorship as well. So hopefully that you will become members, and that I want to thank our volunteer crew of Gail Woodman and Cassandra Wallstrom, and also Marilyn Blom, and Bill Carquest, our chief engineer. This is a homegrown TV station, and if you like what you're seeing, please come by, let us know. And I want to thank you again, Alexander. It's been great getting to know you, and I look forward to some wonderful results.
Thank you.
And a great ending to your season.